It is believed that often when we think of mental health and men, that there's such a silence around men and how they manage or handle their own mental health. And so tonight I want to share as our mental health topic around this area is breaking the silence. Breaking the silence. So as always, I like to do a check-in. And so I'm going to invite you to think about these things. I want you always for these check-in to have a little notepad if you can, and that you, whether it's on your phone or the literal book, you write these things down. There's something about writing things down, because when years from now, weeks from now, months, you go back to those journals, those little notebooks, and you would be amazed about the things that you wrote, you know, however long ago. So tonight I want to ask you as a check-in, and I'm in the fives for no reason. I just came up. List 5 things that stress you out. It's important that you know where your push buttons are. List 5 things that stress you out, whatever they are. And for some persons, and don't judge it with anybody else's thing, it's your thing. Whether it's crowds for some people just leaving their house is a stress. It doesn't matter. Some people being teased, being bullied, whatever it is. You know, any transitions, missing someone, anything. 5 things, 5 top things that stress you out. Second question. What are your 5 early warning signs of stress? So you know when you're about to lose it. You know when you're feeling the stress level. How do you know? What are some indications? Remember, your body keeps a score. There's something in your body that indicates to you. Sometimes it's a tension in your neck. Sometimes it's a sweaty palm. Sometimes it's an immediate headache. What are 5 early warning signs? Sometimes you know you find that you're forming a fist without realizing, you're clenching. You know, these are early warning signs of stress. You realize you are going to lose it. They're early warning signs. List 5 of those. It's important that you know your warning signs. And the third question, what are 5 things you do to feel better when you're stressed out? Whether you read, you sing, you take a shower, you go for a walk, you go for a run, you go out for coffee, maybe you do retail therapy, you go shop, whatever it is. 5 things you do to feel better. It's important that you know what will help you, what usually helps you. It's your little coping. Fourth question, name your 5 safest persons to talk to. It's like the hand, right? When you think of your 5 persons that when you're really stressed out, when you're really going through, when something's a little off for you, who are 5 people that you can talk to? The 5 safest. They may not all be of the same closeness to you, but you trust that these 5 persons can manage, can hold it, won't necessarily judge you about it, will try to be attentive somehow, or just have capacity to hear you, whatever it is. 5 safest persons. I'm not asking about your bestest of friends, right? 5 safe persons. They are safe, right? So we think of, there could be persons at home, it could be persons at work. For persons here who are students, whether it's because of age or because you're going back to school to study, there's no limit on being a student. Maybe it's someone, whether it's a professor or a friend in that class, somebody that you consider safe. But who are your 5 safest persons when you really might be experiencing some stress, irrespective of where you are? And the last question, what are 5 things on your wish list or your bucket list? Some things that you would like to do. Think about that. Make a list of 5 things you would really like to do. You know, maybe starting one in this year, in the rest of this year. Reverend Michelle reminded us that we're already halfway through the year. So maybe there's one you can check from it this year. You still have some time. You know, maybe you want to plan for the next 5 years to do the other 4, one per year. It doesn't matter. Maybe for next year you want to do 2 or all 5, or all the 4 that's left, right? So, what are 5 things that you really want to do? Because again, those things might just be part of what will help to make you feel better when you're stressed out. So, hopefully, in writing these, you have a chance to check in with yourself a little bit more to kind of, I didn't know this about me, or I recognize something about me, or man, I don't know what are 5 warning signs. I really need to kind of check that in myself next time, right? Because they're showing up, but we many times just don't pay attention to our body and to the messages from our bodies, right? So just 5. See if you can list those and keep them as part of getting to know yourself better. Let's get into our topic tonight for breaking the silence. June is recognized as Mental Health Awareness Month for men. And June is also actually in November, it's really mental health, celebrated as Mental Health Month, but in a way, it's kind of attached to the awareness in June, which makes sense because June is also when we celebrate Father's Day. And I think that it is significant now. So tonight, what we're doing here in our healing room is that we are spotlighting men and how we can support in their care and mental well-being. And I know that we are in a culture and in a society where men have been bashed left, right, and center in so many ways. So this is a month that we want to pause and to see our men, to hear our men, to recognize that while there might be data to support how you feel about, oh, men are this or men are that, that there's also data that will show that we ought to spotlight and recognize and see men as persons, as human beings, as counterparts who are experiencing and going through their own mental health journey. And so tonight we pause to celebrate men in our mental health session, but also in this month as we will later celebrate Father's Day and throughout, especially do a little bit more in June for the man in your home, the colleague you work with, the sons you have at home, the ones you have to work with, your connection with men. Do a little bit more, make some effort, even a little bit more this month to say, hey, we see you guys, we see you. We see you and we want to recognize you. So here's some statistic for you. And this is from the Let's Talk Mental Health page. 1 in 8 men, and this research, notice they've also put their source. 1 in 8 men will experience depression in their lifetime. 1 in 8. Okay. Now, women experience depression more, but 1 in 8 will experience that in their lifetime. 3 out of 4 suicides are men. 3 out of every 4. And 1 man dies by suicide every 11 minutes. And this is in the United States data on this. Every 11 minutes. So since we've been in this room for about an hour, imagine how many men died by suicide based on this data. These are stats about men. Something else we need to know about men, and from the Simply Psychology, very great resource actually that I've used throughout much of this presentation, is that, you know, men die by suicide at nearly 4 times the rate of women. Nearly 4 times the rate. Another thing to note is that men are significantly less likely to seek mental health treatment, right? So whatever they're going through, that's hiking or spiking the suicidality, they are significantly less likely to seek treatment for their mental health. And we're going to look at what are some contributing factors to that. Men are also less likely to be diagnosed with depression or anxiety despite similar rates of suffering, right? And that is because, again, how men show up, possibly in their places of seeking help. We're going to see how women show up when depression shows up, how men show up as well. So as a result, men are less likely to be diagnosed with depression or anxiety because what we see on the surface looks differently than how a woman shows up. And again, too, many of our mental health practitioners, most, I would say personally, even when I look at where I work and my context, we have far more women in the field than men. And so when you think of even men seeking support, most likely they are going to be treated by women, by females who, or norm is to see things, is to see a certain behavior before us in therapy versus how a man might show up. And so even finding male clinicians and therapists sometimes prove difficult, or for one that a man might be able to identify with. So that too, again, women are more empathetic. So you need empathy, you need someone to validate. A man might end up going to a female, but a man's presentation of anxiety and depression will look differently. Some things are similar, but in a way it shows up on the behavior wise on the front of just seeing when someone walks before you or comes into session, it looks very differently on the stats. So again, for men are more likely to use alcohol and substances to cope with their emotional pain, right? And we're going to look at what women may tend to exhibit. Now, here's why. How did we get here? How did our men get here with the higher statistics, with higher suicidality, with how they imbibe and how they move into high risk behavior? It's because our men and boys are primarily discouraged from acknowledging vulnerability or from seeking help or expressing emotional distress. And many of us are familiar with that. Men's mental health is a public health crisis, and it doesn't get enough attention, right? The research shows that, partly because the ways men suffer often do not fit the textbook picture of mental illness. And that's what I was talking about earlier, that the way it shows up, it's often not categorized as a mental illness, but likely that a man is angry or has so many other issues that are compounding that. And yeah, there are reasons for that as well. So this is how we got here, because men are discouraged from being open and vulnerable, or you're going to be criticized as being too soft. Men are discouraged from seeking help because, oh, you're a man, you need to fix it yourself, right? So boys are taught from very early that big boys don't cry. Big boys don't cry. Boys don't cry. Men don't cry. Suck it up. Boys are taught from very early never to appear weak. Be strong. You're too whiny and cry. You behave like a little sissy, like a little girl. These are expressions that our boys have grown up with. Maybe some of us are aware of parents who've said those things, right? Maybe there are some parents here who've said those things to their own boys. Be strong. You're a man. Man up, right? It's a tough it up culture that our boys are raised in. Boys are taught from early to look after their own business. Learn to solve your problems. Find a way to fix that. Figure it out yourself on your own. Here's why. You need to learn to take care of yourself, because you will have to take care of a family, later. If you can't take care of yourself, how are you going to take care of your family when you have a family, right? So it's a tough it up culture that our boys have been raised in. Hence, they have learned that you're rewarded for being tough. You're rewarded for not showing emotion. Now, we cannot reward something when kids are small, little, younger, when they're boys, and then expect that that is going to change drastically when they become men. Because the thing you have been rewarded for as a child is the thing you grow to accustom to accepting and believing this is the right way. This is what is best for me. So what are the likely results that we are going to get when we raise boys like that? Emotional suppression. How many times, whether we have lived with husbands or are dating, or we see men or brothers, we see our relatives, and one of the things often complained about for men is that they don't have emotional availability. They're not emotionally aware. That men are not emotionally healthy. But where did that come from? Why a whole species lacks that, right? It results in emotional suppression. If we don't allow our boys to cry, if we don't allow our boys to say when they're sad, if we don't allow our boys to talk about when they really feel low, when they feel like just crying, if we don't give them permission, then this is how it results. Emotional suppression. And then we expect in marriage that they're going to show up, or in longer term relationships that they're going to show up as these amazing adults who know and understand emotions. They can't get it at that stage if they never got it and learned it. It's going to take a lot, years of unlearning. So the emotional suppression is that they don't show or talk about emotions, because this is what was drilled into them as boys. Wipe off your face. Fix your face. What are you crying about? Want me give you something to cry about? Man up. You're too soft. You're not a girl, right? Because girls are expected to cry and show emotions, but boys should not. So now it is a societal crisis that our men are in. It also results naturally in loneliness and isolation. Men stay by themselves and avoid contacts, which is why partly even in our boys and grown men, we see the spike in streaming and video gaming, and especially video games. Why? Because there is an online world that's not judging whether they're frustrated when they lost at something. There's an online world that makes them feel like they belong. There's an online world that they feel they're a part of without the judgments from people with whom they cannot show emotions in the real, right? And so the loneliness and isolation, the withdrawal from people around them, sometimes drive them into these stages and spaces, their own little personal dens where they lock away and they get engrossed in things that do not judge them. Hence a great, naturally, majority of addictions are with men. Whether it's porn, whether it's alcohol, the high risk behaviors come from our men, because the loneliness and isolation allow them to stay by themselves, and then they get caught up in things that becomes high risk, very risky behavior. Now, another likely result when we've taught men to not show emotions, not feel, not express or be vulnerable, is that there's an increased risk of stress, anxiety, and depression, because now it's bottled up inside. There's nowhere to vent. There's nowhere to talk about it. They're shut down before they begin. So the stress level becomes higher because you're telling them to man up. And all they feel, all your little 5-year-old, 8-year-old boy feels is that they just want to cry because the car broke, the toy broke. And they just want to cry naturally or to be frustrated, but they're not allowed to be frustrated. So it increases the stress, the anxiety, the depression. There's no outlet for all of this. So all of this is going to be turned inward. And then that leads to the risk of suicide. And though more women attempt suicide, men are more successful in their attempts at suicide. And maybe because they use more lethal forms, whether it's a gun, or in drinking, or tying off, or in their overdose, or driving their vehicles, their cars into trees or over cliffs. Like, maybe the more lethal forms that they have chosen is probably, data says probably why men are more successful in suicidality, though women attempt more. But imagine that, 1 in every 4 suicides, right? So another thing that results for men is the mental breakdown. They lose it. We say they're crazy. That man is crazy. An inability to cope, so he has a mental crash, not able to function, loses his mind, nervous breakdown. And these things happen to women as well. But recognize that a woman will find someone easier to just talk to, just talk about it, gets it out of the system, because we are allowed to, or maybe that's why we are too emotional. We're allowed to be emotional, right? We are given scope to, we are drama, right? And that is understood. And a man is meant to hold it together. Do not show your disappointment. Don't show your frustration. When you're tired, don't talk about that. Like, you need to man up. And as a man, you don't feel. You don't feel, especially emotional pain. So this is what it results in when we have literally bred this kind of response. Now, what are some activating events? It's important that our men understand that, and the women around our men understand that, whether it's your husband, whether it's a son, whether it's a nephew you have around you, as long as we have men around us, it's important to understand what the triggers are, what activating events are that may lead a man into a certain place, a position, why he gets into risky behavior, why he gets into this isolation and loneliness. How did he get here? We only see the results, but there are things underneath that continue to breed these results within our men. And sometimes it's that low self-esteem that the man suffers, feeling like he's not enough. He's never enough. Doesn't matter what he does, he's never good enough. He can't compare to pastor. He's not able to compare to deacon over here. He's not able to compare to Hollywood's movie stars, 6-pack, 6'4" men. They're not able to compare. And as a result, there is that feeling, I am not good enough. I'm not good enough. I'm not tall enough. I'm not skinny enough. I'm not muscular enough. I haven't worked out enough. I don't have all. It's a lot of that, the body image that men suffer from as well, because there is a structure in society. There's an expectation. Oh, every woman wants this. Or maybe he doesn't feel like he's enough of a Boaz, right? In scripture, in whatever that looked like, in wealth, or how his way of protecting. There's so many things that a man will imbibe, and that low self-esteem will bring him into these places. Also, work pressure is an activating event. Whatever, irrespective of the job that a man does, right? The pressures at work. And he has to hold that together because he's provider. He's expected to be provider, right? And in more recent times, there's a one man whose argument, and rightly so, is that, women take breaks, women will go on mental health breaks or take these kinds of breaks that are needed when needed. And women are hard workers. Oh, we're every profession, but women are given permission to take breaks. But if a man needs a break or says that he has a mental health moment and needs a break, in a way, society looks down on that, like he's not strong enough and so on. And these are things that drive fear underneath so many things in a man's esteem, that he's not able to rest. He's not able to take a break from work, because he's going to be seen as weak if he asks for that. So those are things that sometimes in the mental psyche of a man, that drive them into places of risky behavior. So the work pressure, the family and the home pressures, the body image pressure we talked about, poor sleep sometimes, up at night thinking about how much more, how can he earn more to help his family. And I mean, good men. There's some men who don't care, and we know that. We're talking about men who continue to want to do the best for their families, who want to do the best for their children, who are still looking after parents and so on, and are losing sleep because their brains are actively going and they cannot rest because they're thinking, how else can I do better for my family? And sometimes those are things that trigger a man into depression. Relationship struggles, hearing that he doesn't communicate well, hearing that he doesn't show emotions, hearing that he doesn't know how to validate, hearing that he doesn't know how to just be sad, or how just to receive something, to show that without being angry. Because the only thing many times society has accepted that a man knows is to show irritability and anger, right? While in relationships, he may struggle because he feels like doesn't matter how much he tries, it's never good enough. It's never good enough. And so that impacts a man's mental health. Financial pressures, because his entire family is depending on him, right? Especially within the context of church, where we are hammering and we're believing that he needs to be provider and protector and priest, and he needs to show up. And so those pressures will keep him up at night and create a lot of inner struggle within a man. And so he internalizes those emotions, because what is he going to share? To whom is he going to share? The same people who are expecting from him and looking to him will be the same people that he will find it very difficult to share with, because they won't get it if he shows weakness, because that's how it comes across to others. And since a boy, he's been taught to not show weakness, not ask for help, push through, find solutions to your problems yourself. And so sometimes the high expectations of men, they're afraid. You need to have your dream, your purpose. What are you bringing me into? What do you bring to the table? A lot of this brings a lot of pressure on men. It's high expectations that sometimes themselves, they have a little thought and they don't think that it's going to meet the expectation for whoever wants to hear this, right? In the workplace, in the home, in the relationship, in church. And so it's a lot of pressure for men activating events that get them eventually to places of high risk behavior. And there's a sense of a lack of sense of purpose. So some of the signs of depression in men, for example, a woman depressed shows up in session and they're probably just crying, very weepy, just crying. Every sentence said breaks them down. They're so emotional. That's a sign of depression in a woman. In a man, you're rarely ever going to see that in a session where a man shows up and he begins to speak and start crying. There are a few men who will do that in therapy, but at first, no, it's a lot of defense. It's a Teflon. I need to be tough first. And so we see the irritability and the anger, or there's no willingness to commit to treatment because I'm not doing this. This is not for me. But eventually you will see the emotional side. If the therapy works long enough, if he stays in the process long enough, and a man will break down and he will also cry and he will feel and you'll experience that. But that's not what shows up at first in therapy for men. So we find that even though more women experience depression than men, women will show up crying, there's sadness, They're dissatisfied with their body image. They talk a lot about that. Oh, they've had children and now they're this size, and there's a lot of guilt in probably what's going on with the children, how the house, how they feel about themselves, or they feel like they haven't achieved enough. Women seem to bring a lot of worry and feelings of failure and difficulty concentrating, and there's a sadness that is surrounded in that, and the sleep problems, right? And then there's the fatigue and just feeling demotivated. Women exhibit these things. For men, often when they are depressed, what we see is the irritability and the anger. We see the increased risk-taking behavior, right? Whether they go out and gamble all the money, or they take all the savings and buy this hot convertible car, or they just get engrossed in substance use, whether it's alcohol or drugs or just recreational drugs, whatever it is. Withdrawal from social relationships. They're locking down in the basement, locking down in their rooms, whatever it is. They're not going out to family functions anymore. And or the excessive work. We see them taking on more shifts, just excessive work or activity as avoidance. That's what it is. Making certain they don't have enough time at home or in the places that they feel create a trigger for them, so they take longer shifts. And those are signs when a man is depressed. Doesn't mean you see one and it's depression. But when you see a few of these combined together, and also physical complaints, they begin to talk about having headaches, or this fatigue that they never used to talk about, or this back pain that is no, or a stomach pain. It's important to look at those things, because those can combine to be signs of depression in men, as well as the aggression. We know those, or the difficulty just controlling frustration. They are so thin, just easily frustrated, and drives a lot of fear sometimes in their own families because of that frustration. Signs of depression. A number of them could mean that it's important to pause, pay attention a little bit, because you could be heading into depression. So some warning signs in men: the increased alcohol use or substance use, especially to relax or to sleep. So they take it at night and say, oh, it helps me to sleep. So they have to have a little glass of whiskey or whatever it is. And it's regular. It's important to pay attention to that. There's pronounced irritability. They're just short-tempered. There's a lot of road rage. Nobody can overtake them. Nobody can just not put on your blinkers, and it becomes a whole big issue. Or just conflict escalation. Everything, every argument, every point for discussion, a simple point becomes in a state of irritability. And then, of course, working compulsively. I mentioned a little bit of that, never slowing down. For a man, that's where he drives that energy. That's where he goes into it, because, again, this is a warning sign. This is a warning sign. So also withdrawing, which is part of the isolation from close relationships previously enjoyed. Physical complaints, we talked about that sometimes have no clear medical cause. The sleep disturbance, they can't sleep, waking up right through the night, insomnia, or sleeping far too much. Neglecting personal care and health, right? Whether it's just losing weight because they're not eating, or gaining a lot of weight because they're eating no care. Maybe not showering, hygiene stuff, not really being attentive to those things. Those are warning signs in men, right? And that they're headed into depression or already in depression. Making dark or joking comments about death. When a man begins to speak like that, I know it's just a joke. Dark or joking comments about death, or being a burden, or a sense of hopelessness over them, in life, in work, in relationships. Pay attention to those things. That's how men exhibit their warning signs. Reckless behavior, the speeding, the extreme risk taking, unsafe sex or high promiscuity as well. Those things are also indication. And sometimes giving away prized possessions. These are warning signs in men to look out. It doesn't mean you see one and it becomes an issue. But if you see a couple of these together, a few of these, it's something to be concerned about. So there's good news for brothers. And we may not have a lot of men in this space tonight, but for us women who have to be around our men and our boys, that we want to be able to validate these things in our men and to give good news that we can let them know it's okay to not be okay. It's okay. You might not be okay today, and that's okay. There are no judgments around that. It's okay to be vulnerable. It's okay for you to encourage your men or boys to be vulnerable, to be able to say how they feel without shutting it down, without stabbing it even before it dropped to the ground. We're just hitting it out left field before it even surfaces. Because what we want is we want men to feel. We want them to begin to talk about feelings, not just cognitive. Men are very cognitive. They'll tell you what they think, but rarely you will get how they are feeling about a certain thing. And so it's important that we allow men to be vulnerable. It's okay to ask for help, men. It's okay. Actually, only strong people ask for help. You're not weak when you ask for help. You're not weak when you say, I need support in this. It's not a sign of weakness. It's actually a sign of strength. So we want to give support in that, women. We really want to for our men. It's okay to put yourself first. And we want to say that to a man, that he can hear that. And we already know that many put themselves first, but also many of them put themselves first because they don't know how to show up for anyone else because they've never felt adequate enough. And so that is also like the iceberg. That is what we are seeing, where it's almost like I don't care, but it's because they don't even know how to care. And so men who are caring and showing up and feeling like I can never put myself first, it's okay sometimes for you to pause and recognize, here is a moment I need to put myself first. Because you can crash, you can really have a mental breakdown, and it's okay maybe in that moment for you to recognize that you need to put your mask on first. It's okay to put yourself first. It's okay to take breaks when you need them. Right? And we're not talking about just sitting down doing nothing and watching your wives, your partners, your daughters slaving away and doing. We're talking about when you have served and given, and you are also contributing and building up your family. You are a person, and it's okay for you to take breaks when you need them as well. Right? So it's okay to set boundaries for yourself too. Right? It's healthy because you are an individual, a unique person. It's okay to be intentional about your peace. What you need to do that might give you peace, that will empower you and help you in the moment to find yourself again. It's okay to be intentional about that. I say to our men tonight, it's okay to not know or to even have the answers. Sometimes you don't know how to fix something. It's okay. You don't have to make a wreck of the whole kitchen sink just trying to prove that you know how to do everything. It's okay to say, I don't know, I don't have the answers this time, but I can help you find the answers, right? It's okay. It's okay to say that. It's okay to not know. It's okay to not be perfect. I know sometimes it feels like women expect perfection from you and want you to, we say, come correct, to be so perfect in all of it. It's okay to know that you're not perfect. Neither are we. So it's okay. Give yourself permission to be just to be human, because actually that's who you are. You're human. And so here's how, men, you can stop the cycle. Here's how, even for us sisters, women, friends, partners, wives, daughters, whoever we are to our men and boys, to help them stop the cycle of the loneliness, the isolation, the risky behavior, the mental health crashes that they go through. Is to help them do body scans. We want you to know you can do a body scan. Body scans are important. Where in your body do you feel pain? Or you just feel off. And we know that when our men feel pain, they're like the biggest babies. Lots of judgment in that, but because we recognize that women carry pain, um, I don't know, the words evading me now, but we're better at carrying, at feeling pain and holding that and managing, right? Because whether it's for childbearing or just capacity within our bodies, but men, we want to say to you, it's important that you talk about where you might feel a pain, right? And to look at the fact that sometimes that's the pain that's going to reveal what's really going on with you. And part of that body scan is that sometimes it's going to take exercise. Sometimes it's movement, because it improves your mood and it reduces stress level. But here's another thing. When you scan your body and you recognize that something feels a little off, it's not just my chest that hurts or my back that hurts. I feel a certain way about that. Like it makes me feel scared. It makes me worried. That's what we want with it. It's not just to be crying about the hand, the foot, the head, but what is the emotion that comes up for you with that? Do you worry that there's something underlying, and that's why you're scared to go to the doctor? That's why you're scared to go to get professional help. Talk with your medical or your mental health professional about that pain you feel, because sometimes that's what's going to reveal the answer. And hear me, for the sisters, it's easier for men to start talking about the physical. So we're not going to ask them, so how does that pain make you feel? Or, are you worried about? No, not really. I'm a good man. Just toughen it up again, right? Lead with the physical pain. So if it's a back pain, I think we need to check it out at the doctor, because men also don't like to go to their doctors. So, right. So when you check it out there, then maybe the doctor can see there's something else going on here. So it's easier to start with the physical for men than to begin asking them how they're feeling. Is it, because men don't want to do feelings. So tell a trusted or a safe person. Talk to someone you can trust about what you're experiencing in your body, and also peer support. If you have a few guys you hang out with, a couple of buddies that are your good friends, you go fishing, you go on a road trip, you go camping, whatever it is you do, mention something to someone, because there is power in connection. There's always greater strength in connection. And we want you to know, brothers, that you're not alone. You're not alone. So how can family and friends help in this? And this as well, I think, from the site I shared with you earlier, great resource. Avoid ultimatums about therapy. And I know sometimes we do that. You have to go. If you don't go, right? The pressure often backfires and it increases shame in men. So we want to avoid the ultimatums. This is how we can help. Don't interpret irritability as a personal attack either. Ask what is underneath. And we talked about the anger iceberg before. The iceberg concept is that we see a certain thing, the anger, the irritability, but usually it's driven by something else, right? So we don't interpret it, don't take it as a personal attack. And another thing is to listen without judgments, right? Ask if they need a sounding board. Maybe they just need an air to vent, I just want to talk about this, but they probably don't need solutions. So we don't have to jump into solution mode. Ask what they need right now. What do you need from me right now? How can I support you in this? Whether it's for a man or a woman, that is always a great question to ask. Someone shares something, don't take it for granted that they're looking solutions. How can I support you right now? What supports do you need in this? Are you just wanting to vent, or do you want us to problem solve, right? Other specific help, specific help rather than general offers. So sometimes you can say, I'll go with you, to look into some therapy options, I'll go with you to the doctor. Don't leave it up to a man to go book this, to go to do this, because they are not necessarily wired that way, right? It's put off, it's always waiting for another time. So, especially for us, family, friends, sisters, women especially, offer specific help, right? Okay, I'll go with you. I'll look into that for you. I'll help you research that. And so that helps to get men moving as well. We also can help by staying connected. Even if men push back, don't allow them to go into isolation, because isolation is dangerous for a man. He goes into that dark place. It's very difficult for him to get out because he doesn't interact. Maybe he just goes online and he locks himself, whether it's in the high risk, the dark web, the high risk behaviors happening there in the video streaming rooms, or he goes into places of porn or some addiction, or goes into dark places, literally into bars or wherever. We don't want isolation. So even if they push back, stay connected. Another thing, take expressions of hopelessness seriously. I talked about that before. Whether it's jokes about death or just being a burden, I don't want to be a burden to anybody. Don't take those lightly from a man, right? Because that's his cognitive way of saying something that's bothering him, right? Um, and so know your community as well. This is how we can help. Know the community crisis resources that are around us. And I'm going to give a few of those crisis and suicide helplines in a little. So this is the anger iceberg. Remember this, that what we see is the anger and the irritability and the always cussing and the miserable and the fumes at the top, right? But below are the hurt feelings, the sadness, the helplessness, the being ignored, the feeling lonely, this just being scared, just worried, right? The pain or fear that they're feeling. And so there's some scriptures I just want to remind us of tonight, men, brothers. 1 Peter 5:7 that we had read tonight. Cast all your anxiety, all your cares on him, because he cares for you. The Lord doesn't just care about women and children. He cares about you. He created Adam first. He cares about you because he wants you to care for those he's put into your charge and in your care. So he cares about you. He saw that it wasn't fit for Adam to be alone. So he gave him Eve. So he cares about your needs and what is important for you. So cast your cares on him. Proverbs 11:14 says, where there is no guidance, the people fall. But in abundance of counselors, there is safety, there is victory, this rendering says. It's important to seek support. You cannot carry it alone. You don't have all the answers. I know people made you, the society, parents, or culture made you believe that you must find all the answers, but you don't have all the answers. So seek help. Proverbs 18:24 says, if you have a lot of friends who are bad for you, they will ruin you. But there is a friend who sticks closer than a brother. The Lord is here for you when you don't know how to carry your family, how to carry the work pressure, how to carry your own pressure, how to carry your own esteem issues. The Lord is closer than a brother. And Deuteronomy 31:6, be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid or tremble at them, whoever them be, women, bosses, social connections. For the Lord your God is the one who goes with you. He will not fail you or forsake you, brothers. So he's got you too. He's got you too. You may not pray as mighty as the women. You may not be as passionate. You may not be as emotional, but the same God is your God, and he's got you. He's got you. And one of our favorite, I remember when I saw this in one of my gym instructors some years ago, had this in tattooed on his hand, Psalm 23:4. And I thought how meaningful that was for a man to have that on his arm. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil. For you, Lord God, you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. And that is what God speaks to you as well, men, brothers. And for the men in our lives, let us remember that they have the rod and the staff of God to help them, to comfort them, to bring them through as well. So let us normalize the conversation about mental health and break the stigma. because it is important, not just for us women, but for men. And this is Mental Health Awareness Month for men. We want to pay attention. Say to a man this week, tonight, this month, I see you. Thank you for your hard work. Thank you for what you do. Thank you for providing for us. Thank you for covering us. Thank you for being there for your children. I see you. Thank you for loving me. I see you. We want to normalize the conversation, break the stigma, and celebrate the good that we see in our men. So our crisis lines I've put for Canada, US, and Jamaica. There are others I'm sure that we can Google and find for those who are in other regions. But the 988 is a suicide and crisis lifeline, both in Canada and the US. And Canada also has a kids help phone line that many kids, young people have access. It's a toll-free line. In the US, the 988, the same suicide and crisis lifeline that you can text or you can call 24/7. In Jamaica, there's the Mental Health and Suicide Prevention Helpline. It's a toll-free number. And there's also the Safe Spot for youth in Jamaica as well, toll-free, that you can reach counselors and mental health providers who will be available to you. So reach out to someone if you find yourself in a crisis that feels like it is too much for you. And as we go into our fellowship session, I want to ask, what supports do you need? Every one of you in this room tonight, all of us, what supports do you need to support our men and boys, to better support them, to help them out of the places where they have been dismissed, not talked about, not cared for, not recognized, not seen? We want to be able to celebrate our men and boys in this, especially in this month and beyond. Let us start the journey this month if we've not already started.